up, Twitch chat? It's 9 a.m. and I'm starting at 9 a.m. I'm not doing a starting soon screen and actually showing up at 9:10. How about that? On a Friday. The heck? Hey, Acheron, what's up? How's your day going? And yes, Mono Lisa. That is my favorite freaking font. It's fantastic. It's my programmer font. It's not the font that you see on that overlay. That's Atkinson, which is my favorite font for actually building websites. But in my editor, yeah, Mono Lisa. Go check it out. If you're willing to spend money on a font, well, I mean, if you're a programmer, you're looking at your font every day. It's probably the most important thing in front of you other than the editor. So I think it's worth spending the money. Just me. Pilcrow, hello. Welcome, welcome. My favorite font is SF. Yeah. Is SF Pro the West Boss font? Or no? Is this just Apple built-in font? SF Pro display. What is this? Oh, this must be the Apple font. It's Apple's. Yeah. Good looking font. Yeah, San Francisco. I've used that one a bit. I don't think it's a default. I think it's just one that's built in. I've been using that for ages at this point. JetBrains. Yeah, people love that JetBrains mono. I love that it's just kind of open source and you can throw it in any editor. It's a good looking font. It's a real good looking font. I used JetBrains on my last job, and yeah, I did switch the font, but the built-in one looks really good, and the italics look fantastic. I'm looking at it right now just to refresh myself, and yeah, it does look good. It definitely does. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the React survey. Got some tea on the ready? We got coffee and a tea mug because we do morning streams around here. So yes, we do. Okay, let me put on some house music in the background just to set the vibe. Ooh, yeah. And I'm hoping this doesn't save to the VOD. I have it set up to not put music on the VOD. So we'll find out, because I would like to reuse the React survey VOD towards the end. Disappointing. Not true British. I am not British at all, but my last name is Holmes. So, I mean, it does count. But cheers to you. Beep. Cheers to you. Yeah. It's a Hydro Flask mug. It's very durable. It's something you can bring to a workout and then set on your desk, you know? It's a good setup. I can't even hear the music on my end, so I'm going to bump that up a little bit. But yeah, we'll get started in a moment. Oh, I actually can't hear it because my monitor broke. There we are. Not bad. Pinky up is the correct way. Exactly. There's no other way. You know, I was a SpongeBob kid. I was raised on that sense of humor. And when in doubt, pinky out. It stuck with me. That's a core memory. When in doubt, pinky out. Advice for life. 100%. Okay, I'm actually going to quit my terminal before I start sharing my screen because, well, let's keep the terminal open just in case we need to code something or explain something. But as far as I know, we're just taking a survey today, right? And we're offering hot takes, maybe whiteboarding some ideas if there's a concept that I feel like is worth explaining. Whatever we want to do with this, we can kind of forge our own path. With my setup, I can't really fit my whiteboard in here, so, you know, Eraser.io is my substitute. I'm a big Eraser.io fan. It's honestly a great tool. It gets you all the whiteboarding that you need in life. So let me do that. Excalidraw, I think it's a better Excalidraw. So, you know, hotter take there. Oh, I have to add no. Start using Eraser. Yeah. All files. Yeah. Hole? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna try it for a week. Okay. That's a good way to test the waters on anything. But I've got it set up here. I can give you a sneak peek at it. Eraser. Here we go. So you get all the same tools that you get in an Excalidraw. Like you can select things. It looks like yeah, there we go. So you can still draw boxes. You can still type text in the middle of a box. And it has, you know, it has less charm in the font choice. You can see it's kind of marker-ish, but it's a little more professional is the goal of it. But it's got this whole library of things. Let me show you this. So if you hit the slash command, you can put in, like for a conference talk, I needed a cloud of all of the cloud providers, literally like all the logos and stuff. So I was like /Azure. Oh, sick. Azure. There we go. And then I was like /Cloudflare. Oh, okay. Cloudflare icon. So if you're a tech person and you just explain stuff, it's like, whew, it's nice to have an icon library that you can just slash and grab. I think I kind of like that. Me too. That's why I've been sticking with it. And I also do know the Eraser.io folks. If you're looking for sponsors, let me know. Ooh. Yeah, I should probably actually approach them about sponsorships at some point. What better sponsor than a whiteboarding tool? What better software? I have no idea. I don't know. That's nice. It is nice. It is also a shameless plug, for real. Yeah, we could definitely get something. We could get something out of this. We get something out of the deal. But yeah, if we need to explain, server components, since I'm sure we will at some point in this React.js survey, we can make flow diagrams, and you can change the fill. There are some fun... Oh, you can change the shape to, like, dodecahedrons and stuff. That's kind of cool. But there is a weird disconnect with, like, yeah, you can set the fill or the stroke, but they're just separate? So sometimes you could forget to change the stroke color if you have them both set. It's a little weird. There's, like, too much granularity for me. Oh, and you can also set bold or outline. Oh, okay. So you could do outline fills. I was honestly using it wrong. Okay, so, yeah, I wonder if they've always had these fills, because I haven't used these before. But these are great. Yeah, and you can also have a shadow on them. So you can see here now it's a bit of a shadow. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, there's some good settings, and I think they're sticky. So once you choose one of these fills, it'll use it for any future rectangles. Yeah. It's not bad. Too much JS. That's a good primer, I think, for what we're about to do. So let's jump into this. Where do I actually find the React.js survey? State of React. Yeah, there we go. Okay, here we are. And I'm going to remove my nameplate, I think. Can I do that? Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so now we have the full view of everything. There you go. All right, so we bumped up the font size. We're looking good. Yep, that's one Arc browser. It is the Arc browser. Absolutely. I'm a diehard fan of the Arc browser. And I know people are getting on them about the AI stuff. They're trying to make money. They're trying to make a buck. I don't mind it. I haven't really used the AI features, but I'm happy they exist, and I'm sure some people will use them. The find in page, I know that if it can't find something, it'll at least let you ask, what can you kind of figure out from the web page where this might be? Like, okay, I don't see the word, what's a word on this page? I mean, we're just on the home page. But, I don't think there's... What would I even wonder on this page? I don't even know what to ask about this page. We're on a home page right now. Yeah, what about... Yeah, you can Google things. But you could search for, like, view, and then it would be like, oh, the view's not on this page. Go on this web page. Yeah. The survey is run by demographics volunteers. That doesn't really answer anything. What if I search svelte? What does that give me? The webpage does not mention svelte specifically. That's a lie. It's literally on the page. As an AI assistant, okay, whoa, dude. I'm trying to make this product look okay, at the very least, but it's not working for me. React versus Solid? What does that do? It's now 10 years later, and the newly introduced React server components promise to be the biggest change since React itself. Will the community follow more at a time, or developers jump ship? Okay, yeah, so it found the quote that mentions React and Solid in this same paragraph. Page suggests that some developers may switch to Solid instead of continuing with React due to major changes with React server components. Good summary right there. That's actually... Here we go. This is the stuff that I'm used to. So that's cool. That's cool. That's actually useful. It's comprehension of a page, not just searching. And it limits it. So... Safari's integration with Apple's Fast Manager is must have. Yeah, it sounds like you're really in the Apple ecosystem. I didn't know you were an Apple fanboy, but I'm learning. I'm learning today. And I did use their Safari keychain for a while. I switched to 1Password just because other people in the community use it. And I do like Safari's keyword, what is it? Keychain. Because I found out you can say Siri, show me my passwords, and it does a double check of your Face ID, and then it pulls up your passwords on your phone. So you don't have to hunt through your settings for it. It's weird that a voice assistant can pull up your passwords, but it does at least check the Face ID. I don't know. So that's an option. I like it, but 1Password follows me around a bit better. 1Password definitely has some jank to it. I feel like I have to log into 1Password every single time. It is so aggressive with logging me out that using the Chrome extension, I have to like do the freaking fingerprint every time. It's real annoying. Hope you have a good day. Thank you for stopping by, sir. I'll put up the VOD on my YouTube, so hey, drop a follow. I'm live every week. If you like tech stuff, I'm live every week. You seem like a good person, so just letting you know. But yeah, we're going to jump into a survey here. We're going to jump into a survey. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. I'm thinking if I want to make this a standalone video, how do I introduce it? I could introduce it in post. I don't know. Is this even worth a video? I'll figure out in the edit. I'll figure out in the edit. Okay. We'll go intro mode. All right, State of React 2023. This is the survey from the folks that made the State of JS survey. It's been around for a while. It's how I discovered some of my favorite frameworks, like Svelte, actually. So I'm interested to see a React-focused survey and offer some hot takes, perhaps. I use a lot of different frameworks, and I've been trying out server components. So I want to see what they ask me, and I'm going to share some of my opinions with you along the way, probably. So let's jump into it. And here's where we edit things. Continue with account, check your inbox. Okay, and I'm gonna hide my screen share just to avoid doxing myself. So I'm gonna go to my email and figure this out. Okay. We're signing in. I only have 3 hours of React experience. You need a lot more to understand the framework, I hate to say. That's long enough to hate the framework, but it's not long enough to understand it. That's my take. All right, let's hide this. So now all we have to do is this. And I'm also going to quit my email client now that I'm in, because that would be annoying. All right, cool. Screen just face. And I'm going to reintroduce it because that splash page that I was on was not great. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. There we go. All right, State of React survey. This is taking the world by storm. It's from the people that made the State of JS survey, which has been around for years and helped me discover some of my favorite frameworks, actually, like Svelte and Solid. And now they got a focused one just for the React front-end framework. I expect a lot of hot takes to come out of this. I also expect some fascinating questions about server components, server actions, and a bunch of other features that people probably don't know about. So I'm going to try to explain things along the way too, if you don't know about these tools. All right, let's jump into it. So main APIs, create context. That is a softball. Definitely used it. Want to use it again? Oh man, I've run into so many problems having context values that re-render the whole page. I mean, I'm going to use it again if I'm in React. How about that? So create portal. I've used it. It's a weird one. It lets you render some children. Yeah. I never have a use case for this because anything that renders in another part of the page, I don't code it myself. I have a library like these days Radix UI modal. So I'll just not respond to that. It's cool that you don't have to respond to it anymore. They changed the format from used it, interested, used it, not interested. And now it's kind of you can click one of these three and you can choose interested, not interested, or just leave it at neutral. So that way you can at least respond without having a strong opinion. Forward ref. Okay. No. Shout out to Maple Leaf for the great tweet saying, when will React kill forward ref? Can we just kill forward ref by now? because it doesn't make a lot of sense. You can pass refs as props. It's really, really weird pattern that you have to have an extra wrapper just to pass a reference. So if you don't know how references work, it's, in React, when you want to reference to an actual element on the page, like you have a div and you want to reference that div and manipulate it in some way. You can create a ref with useRef and manipulate that DOM element inside of your code. But what if you want to reference an element in a nested component? Then you have to wrap that component with forward ref. You pass the reference that you want, I think, and then it passes it back up, something like that. And it's not great. It feels weird to have an extra wrapper around a component just to reference some HTML inside of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So, no, I'm not a fan of that. It's really annoying. Okay, often used via that. I mean, everyone uses this. Yes, of course I love the empty pattern. I hate that you can't just pass an array of elements. It's notoriously been a problem in React. You can pass an array, but you can't pass parentheses and then JSX without a wrapper. That's always been an issue. So it's annoying, but this is an elegant enough solution. Lazy deferred loading a component. I've seen this. I've seen this in code bases, so I'm going to say used it because I've at least reviewed code that uses it. And I guess I would use it again. It's kind of cool. I don't have a strong opinion. I really don't understand lazy that well, so I'm going to move on. Memo lets you skip re-rendering a component when its props are unchanged. Yeah. So, I've used it. We've used it, 100%. I've had a negative experience with it, 100%. I know that there's a blog post about this. I'm actually going to go find it. There was a blog post from Dominic. React Query blog, right? Do y'all have opinions about this? Yeah, practical React Query. Let's see here. Ooh, it's probably not this one. Let's go in here. The uphill battle of memoization. Here it is. Yeah, so shout out to Dominic's blog on the React Query team, The Uphill Battle of Memoization. He really pieces apart why use memo can really hurt you. So here you might have, an expensive tree in your application and you memoize it, which means anytime this component re-renders, it's going to not try to re-render this and reevaluate all of its props. This is a contrived example. Obviously, rendering a div isn't expensive, but you get the idea. If it's doing fetches to a CMS or some other source, that's what I ran into at my last company, you might memoize it. Or we were running into a nested form on the page that we wanted to memoize when product information updates, because otherwise the form would glitch out and show loading spinners, so we kind of just put the use memo sledgehammer on there. But it gets really weird. It gets really weird really fast, because there's all sorts of props that you might want to pass to it, like styling. You might want to style the component and pass it in. But you've ruined the memoization because now that you've passed a prop onto it, it's invisible cost, but putting a style tag is going to force React to re-render the component, even when you're kind of memoizing it. So you could do it like this in order to make sure that's also memoized, but things get really, really weird. And then it becomes a prop of the memo tree. Yeah. Mostly refreshing myself on this article. It's been a few weeks since I read it. But you can see here, you get into a lot of manual code to make sure you're not only memoizing the component, but memoizing the props that go in. And then children is where it gets especially weird, because children is also going to break memoization, because children is just another prop when you think about it. So if you have an expensive tree, but you want to pass some children to it, you're going to run into the same issue. And you can also pass an object to use memo to tell it specifically what props to memoize. But then you get into comparator functions, and I ran into this. I had a JSON stringify that stringified all the props that the component could ever receive, and it compared them to make sure it was memoized. It became this really big piece of tech debt in our code that started as a simple use memo and turned into a crazy comparison of every prop you could have, which stringifies all through it. So in the end, it's just not about it. You don't want to memoize the component itself. Instead, you want to memoize other things or optimize other parts of your app. And I'll leave you to read the article to look through some of these options. It goes beyond the scope of this video, probably. But there are ways to make sure that you're actually hoisting state where it is used and you're pushing state down where it isn't used. Back to the React context question. If you have a big React context that's forcing all these re-renders, that you're memoizing, maybe it's about localizing that state or using a different library that pulls the state out so you don't need React context at all. That's where the real benefits are. If you're using Memo, it's probably because state chains in your application are not working right. It's a symptom. It's not a solution. So yeah, Memo is an option, but you should really, really wait to use it, especially the rprop SQL. If you need that, you're doubly screwed. But know all the foot guns like passing children, probably optimize your state trees instead. Okay, looking at y'all. Is that auto-memoizing compiler from Meta actually happening? Good question. Yeah, y'all are wondering about the use memo and React forget. That would probably realize when memo is the last resort it needs to add. React forget is happening. I forget what the timeline is because they forget to give us updates. So yeah, I know that it was a working proposal, at least as of last year, and it's still ongoing, but we're not there yet. React isn't a compiled language. It's a transformed language, if you want to be proper about it. This would be the first time that React generates code to do stuff like this for you so you don't use it wrong. And potentially removes the memo as your application grows, because that's something we forget to do. In React, like stage 1 of grief, having to add memo. Stage 2 of grief, having to remove your memos when you realize you did it wrong. No one ever gets to stage 2. Very few get to stage 1. Most people just don't use memo at all because it's a headache to add and remove wherever you need it. So I'm hoping a compiler comes in to fix all the problems so we don't have to think about it. But we're not there yet. Profile lets you measure rendering performance. I don't use this. But I'm definitely interested in it. You picked interested if you like to. Ooh, okay. And you can add to a reading list. They're really thinking about this. So now it's an education resource. Love that. But yeah, I don't use the profiler. I use the dev tools, but I don't use this. Because I should monitor performance of React trees because they get expensive, but I haven't looked at it. Yeah. Strict mode. Ooh. So this is something you should enable by default. The classic meme, use effect runs twice when you're in strict mode. Let that sink in. And we'll probably get to a use effect question. But if you use effect anywhere in React, the initial run will run twice. So if you have fetch logic or anything else, you got to be real careful about what are you fetching? Do you abort fetches that are like, not resolved yet? There's so much that goes into strict mode. And I think they're removing the double run because it is confusing so many people. But strict mode be strict. And I think it's something you can enable without this component. I don't know. So I'll say that I've definitely heard of it, and I'm not interested. Okay, what pain points have you encountered? Well, we discussed a few of them. React.memo has countless foot guns. Passing children or innocent props like style break memoization without you noticing, and it's usually a sign to re-architect state. That's my take. And also, React context causes re-renders you might not expect. Speaks to memo problem. I use state libraries, and I'm going to talk about this. I use state libraries like nano stores to push state outside of the component tree. So you probably heard of a few tools like this. NanoStores is just one of them. And if you think, oh, that's similar to this other tool that I use, it probably is. But it's a basic principle of taking your state, pushing it to a separate file, and reading it where you need to consume it. Atoms are the granular nugget of state. So you can create a standalone file, you can create an atom, which has an initial value, and you get some getters and setters for your preferred framework. You also get maps, which is a nice way to just update an object key without overriding the whole object with a bunch of spread operators. So map is a cool one if you just need to like surgically update object keys. I like that. And the rest of the tools I honestly don't use. Computed stores, every time I think I have a use case, I don't, and it's easier to just have one big store. But computed is also an option. You can get fancy with it. But yeah, if you look for React, and there is a React use store hook. You can consume the store anywhere in your application, but it's not React context. So here I'm consuming the store, I can set values on it, but it's not like this global state where if I update admins, for example, it's not going to re-render my whole admin portal. It's just going to re-render components that rely on the admin store. So it'll update little bits of the component tree that care about that state, but it's not going to update from the top level all the way down. That's what I love about nanostores. And they're so easy to understand. I use atoms like 9 times out of 10. I have a standalone file for all of my global stores, which is great for code organization anyways. And I don't have to think about providers and consumers and making sure I use context correctly because it's just a state file. There's no provider. There's just consumers that can mutate it. So I love that. You might have heard of React Relay, which is a more beefed up version of this model. Redux uses something like this to avoid global re-renders too, so I recommend it. And it works in any library too. It works a lot like Svelte stores, and they're compatible with Svelte. It's just good. It's just good. Okay, I think I've given all of my takes about this. Oh yeah, strict mode runs use effect twice. It's dead to me. It's pretty good. Okay, hooks. Speaking of, we're going to start with use callback. React hook that lets you cache a function between re-renders. I have used it very, very rarely. I will use it again if I have a reason to memorize a function. I almost never do. But I'll use it. Use context, again, like, yes, I've used it. I would probably use it again. The problem is, React is kind of this Stockholm syndrome where React, I have a negative experience and I want to use it again so I'm hired. You know what I mean? I want to click both of these. I've had a negative experience, but I keep coming back. That's how I describe React. So yeah, sure, but I've also had a negative experience. So what are you gonna do? Use deferred value. Interesting. It's a React hook that lets you defer updating a part of the UI. I've never heard of this. I'm interested to know what that does, but I've never heard of it. Use effect, the classic. I've used it, negative experience. There we go. Easy. Everyone should respond this. Or never heard of it. I'd love it if there were new developers that have never heard of use effect. That means library authors did their job right. Use effect is for library authors, not for your source code. Most of the time. Use ID. Generate unique IDs that can be passed to accessible. That exists? What? That's so cool. What? I didn't even know this existed. Yes, I want to use that. That's amazing. Oh my god. What the heck? I built a library for that. I didn't know that they just had it. Okay, there you go. Sick. Use memos to React hook that lets you cache. Okay, we've talked about this many times. I've used it. I would use it again. I hope a compiler does it for me so I don't have to update it all the time. Use reducer. Man, I don't know how I feel about use reducer. It is it's Redux Lite, where you can create a store and you can send actions to it to update values in that store. You've probably heard of it. You can search for infinite resources about it. Every time I think I have a pattern that needs use reducer, I try using use reducer. I spend about 20 minutes refactoring my state logic. I realize it's way too heavy-handed, and I go back to use state. To this day, I have not shipped an app that uses use reducer. I've shipped a million apps that have tried to use reducer, but none of them made it to production. So I've used it. I wouldn't say I've had a negative experience because it is a powerful tool, but I just never actually ship it. I use it and I don't ship it. I want use reducer to make sense and it doesn't. So I'm just going to leave it there. Use ref. I mean, you got to use it. It's something that doesn't trigger re-renders. It's a classic. Use state. I haven't used use state. I've never heard of that one. Yeah. Use take external store. Okay. Yeah. This is an interesting one. I know that library authors really love this one. I'm interested in it, but I never have a use case for it. Like, if you don't use reducer, you probably don't use this either. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I just don't know. What pain points have you encountered with hooks? Use effect exists. I want to like use reducer, but I always realize it's heavy-handed and go back to use state before shipping. Sad face. Facts. There you go. Those are my pain points. Use effect and use reducer. New APIs. Newly introduced or experimental features. Cache. Cache money. All right, this is an interesting one. This is the primitive to cache things between renders, I think. Or cache for sort of a data effects or computation. Yeah, cache whatever you want. You have a key, and you have the value, and you can invalidate a cache if you have the key on you. So it's kind of a lock and key model, right? You do a fetch, you lock up the result, and then you have a key that you can use to go back and say, you know what? I need to invalidate the user because I did something to it. So I'm going to unlock my cache and rerun the fetch value. That's what caches are for. You know, very basic definition. React query is built on it. React has a primitive for it. So I'm going to say I'm interested. I haven't actually used the primitive yet. Server components. That's a big old one. That's a big old topic. I could ramble for hours about it. I have a conference talk coming up about it. So I've definitely used it and want to use it again. That's the short end of it. But, you know, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Server actions. Server mutations. It's part of the spec. Experimentally. I've used it and will use it again. But I have a short coming up about use effects, so watch out for that. Not use effect. I have a short coming up about server actions, so watch out for that. Watch out. Start transition. This is of all of the helpers in React, this is one of them. I've used it and want to use it again. I will not say I understand it. I will not say I understand it. So let me try to explain it. And I'm going to whiteboard this one. I'm going to try to whiteboard this one. Here we go. Also, let me catch up on chat. So what you're saying is use memo is usually tech debt? Yes. Yes. Because it's a decision you made. You'll need to make sure that you undo the use memo if your props get unwieldy, or you find a solution to make it re-render less. I feel like you shouldn't use memo until you've done profiling, you tried refactoring your state, and you decide, you know what, there's no way to refactor this state any better, I'm going to memoize it. You got to put in a little legwork to make your performance better, and if you can't do it, then you put on the memo. And also, make sure to check in on that memo. Whenever you see it, you're like, oh, this component has react.memo. Let me see if it still needs that. Let me remove it, reprofile it, see what's going on. And also, does it have a bunch of props that have been added over months and months that invalidate it? That's what you got to check on. It's tough. It's tough to do. So many hooks and packages created by hooks. In general, fair. Pilcrow, you've used it for 3 hours. Get out of here. Okay, 3 hours is enough to hate React, so I guess that opinion's valid. I used reducer once for an advent of code WASM solver, ripped it out, replaced it. There you go. Yeah, state machines. Yeah, you might end up there too. I wouldn't blame you. Shout out to David K. Piano, obviously. All right, so let's oh, also, I just realized I never actually retweeted this. So let me go ahead and retweet that I'm live. I forgot to do that. Let me do that. Let's get a little bit of engagement in here. Giving hot takes. Yes. Cool. All right. Just making sure that that's live. Okay, so let's try to explain use transition a little bit. So let me actually think about it first. How do I want to explain this? So I know the use cases for transition that I like. I don't know all of them. In the React docs, they talk about a tab bar example. And I understand it when I look at it, but when I go back, I have to sort of go through the docs to understand what it's actually doing. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, I understood it a week ago, but not right now. Use transition is one of those things that I'm like, yes, I understood it a week ago, but not right now. So I'm going to offer an explainer, and hopefully it helps you a little bit. So let's say we have a component right here. We have a component. And this component is going to be a a request to the server or something like that. Or to search box. That's my favorite example. Let's say we have our search box. And this is a client component. This is a client-side component. And inside of that search box, you have a couple things. These might be separate components. These might be just more JSX that you're rendering inside. You have the search results, right? You have the results, which is the list of whatever's coming down from the server. Ideally, you're using a server component as the wrapper. And we also have the actual input that's going to give us things. It's going to give us the values that we want to send back to the server. So let's also say in this example that we're using React server components. So I'm going to color code these. The orange is going to be server components, right? And blue is going to be client components. So that's my use client. The search results are going to be passed down as children from the server. And the input is also, well, the input is going to be client side as well. The input's going to be client side, right? So let's connect these up with a little bit of arrow action. Yep. So that's our simplified component tree. So every time in our search box component, we input some more search. We want to send a request up to the server, stream down the new results, and display them to the user. By default, we can just do that with an input that updates a search param, perhaps. So let's say this is our action right here. This is what we want to do. We're going to set a search param that's bang search equals my search, right? Or we could just say star. That's going to be passed up from the input every time you input a new value. So there's probably an on change or something like that. I'll say on change, search equals that. On input may also be what you use. Don't ask me about the nuances of that. But hey, there we go. So every time you input, we have an on change, and it's going to put a query param onto the app. And way up the tree, we have our server component. Sorry about that. And way up the tree, we have our application. And let's say we're using Next.js or something. So that app is server rendered. So our app is server rendered, search box is use client, search results is a child of search box. So that's a funny pattern that you can do, by the way. You can have a client component that receives server results as a child. So that's kind of what we've done here. And every time you on change, we're going to re-render the app pretty much top down, and we're going to let Next.js cache results and figure out which parts actually deserve re-rendering. So in this basic setup, we have a search box. On input, it's going to change the result. And then we're kind of in this pending state, right? We send an on-change result. We're going to have a bit of time, a bit of delay in this application. So we're going to say 300 milliseconds of recomputing this guy, the search results. So that's going to take 300 milliseconds to go to the app, do our backend logic, and then pass our search results down. So we're going to say our search results resolve 300 milliseconds later. What does the user see in the middle of that? That's the issue. So you type in a search input. It's doing a search in the background, but the user doesn't have any indication that new results are coming down the pipe. There's no way to track what is going on our app. There's no way to track the server request from the client component. That is one of the many use cases that use transition has. So when you add a use transition hook, and we'd probably put it on our search box next to the input, you could have a call inside of here, right? That's saying use transition. And that's going to look for re-renders of the component that are in transition. Now our component, because our app is re-rendering, is in transition. And you can track both the starting point. So every time we search, we're going to start a transition, start something that we want to track. And then we also get an is pending state. So while it is loading up the new results, it's going to give us a variable that we can track inside of our code. And I'm going to make this a different color just for posterity's sake. This gives us our tracker, our loading state, to track those new results that are coming down the wire. So I'm going to make this a little bit wider so it's more readable. But you can see here, we're going to put this in our search box source code. We're going to track the transition that's coming down the server. We're going to track this 300 milliseconds. And isPending is our state variable that we can put onto a loading spinner or something else. So I'm going to add something else to the page, right? We're going to have a third element on this, which is our spinner. This is also going to be client side, loading spinner, right? And you can even say as a prop that it's going to receive isPending, or more accurately, we're going to have isPending and show a loading spinner, right? So we do an onChange, the app re-renders, it takes 300 milliseconds to show the search results, and in the meantime, we're going to have isPending be true, right? So this is going to show immediately, and then 300 milliseconds later, the search results were fresh. So this is kind of our new flow, where instead of passing them in directly, we're going to go into the isPending state, and the search results are going to show the old result. We're not going to show a flash of a loading spinner. The stale results are still on the page, and then they'll be replaced by the new stuff 300 milliseconds later. So transitions are a way to track loading states and ensure that you're showing a stale result while the new stuff comes in. Only re-render this when the new stuff has resolved, and in the meantime, also show a loading spinner next to the input. That's a gist of how this thing works. Yeah. And I'll also add in, just for clarity, onChange, we're going to update that search result, and we're also going to start transition. This is the callback that you're able to call to say, I'm setting the search params, I'm starting a transition, so that way I can track while these search results are coming down the pipe. All this for a search box. It is a lot, but a normal search box could be as simple as this with none of the extra state. The only reason we add this is because you want that nice little loading spinner next to the page while new results stream in. It also gives you the added benefit of rendering your search results server-side. So instead of having a React query with the loading state and all that other stuff, and figuring out how to keep the stale results on the page, these are all server rendered. These will come down as HTML from the server as soon as they're available, as a prop coming from app, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so the difference between using suspense? Yeah, so that's where things get a little bit more interesting. The difference is having the stale results stay on the page. So if you were to wrap it in a suspense boundary, every time you type, the search box would, or the search results would disappear, replaced with the loading spinner, and then reappear with the new results, which is a really janky experience, especially if you have like a debounce and it's updating while you type. That's what gets annoying. So this allows the stale results to stay on the page while the new stuff is loading, and lets you put a separate loading spinner somewhere else. This is best explained with my simple RSC demo, actually, so I'm going to pull that up. Let me jump into this. So if I go over to simple, here we go. So I have a demo of this exact search component, which I think will help people out a little bit. Inside of here, we have a start transition, right? The exact thing I just described. We have use transition, we're tracking the pending state, and we're going to put search on the page in the middle of the start transition. Start transition is a wrapper, by the way, around everything that you need to use. So you can see here, we have the loading state that is appended next to the input, and the search results are actually rendered elsewhere in our application. You don't even have to know about them, really. So let me show you what happens when I run this. Should be as simple as pm dev. There we go. I'm going to jump over to the future of React, and you can see here our search results. Don't worry too much about the dev panel. That's more of a learning resource. But if I type in new results, you can see the old results stay on the page, and then the new results come in. I also have a bit of caching. That's what I meant in here. So if I type that and I type this again, it'll cache the result. So you can see it leaves the stale results on the page and it shows a loading state while you're going through the transition. If I were to go up to my page where I'm rendering this, you see I have a suspense fallback for loading all of the albums. We also have the searchable album list here. I could wrap this in another suspense. So let me go ahead and try that. If I did this, and I add suspense around that, fallback, loading results or something, and we close it, what will that do? Well, what I'm going to do first is remove the transition. So we no longer have a use transition. We no longer have start transition. We're just going to do it as normal. And we're not going to have access to a pending state, so the loading spinner is going to replace whatever's on the page. It's not the best result, but just for visibility, we're going to try it out. So now we have this. You can see loading results. And it's not going to have a loading indicator. And I think I was actually smart in how I cached this. So it's not going to remove stale results. Dang it. How do I get that to demo here? How do I force that? Oh, it's right here that we're loading the results. And we put the searchable album list into it. What can I do? So we have searchable album list right here. Dang it, I actually don't know how to demo this properly. Classic React. I have no idea how to demo this properly. I did. Basically, React is solving a problem that it itself has created. That is definitely a way to put it. So use transition is solving a weird pattern in server components where suspense lets you override things with loading spinners, but sometimes you don't want the whole application to disappear behind a spinner. Transition is a way to kind of get around that, but it is really annoying to work with. TLDR, if you're working with use transition, just understand it's a way to add pending states while other things are re-rendering in the app, and the framework handles the rest. Next.js handles the transition routing, so that way when you're on a route change and you want to show a spinner, or you're re-rendering search results and you want to show a spinner, without having your whole application disappear behind a spinner, transition is a way to actually track that something is happening, so that you can show a pending state while the thing is happening. There you go. So I don't think that was the best explanation, but transition is hard, and it's really hard to explain it. TLDR, I've used it, I'll use it again, but it is annoying. I have a lot to say about Next.js. We won't get into that. Hopefully. Maybe the survey will get us into that. Okay, suspense. Speaking of which, I love this pattern, and I wish more frameworks had this pattern, because when you're loading results, sometimes you need to batch all of the promises into a single loading state. And if you need to resolve it right away, like when you use React Query, you have isLoading available right there. It's like, I don't want isLoading right here. I don't want a waterfall of spinners. I want to hoist up all of these loading states. And only when the entire component tree is done fetching stuff do I want to actually show it. And suspense is the way to hoist things up exactly where you want them to go. Same goes with error handling. You can put error boundaries to hoist up error states so that you have a nice error page. So I love this pattern. You could argue never have loading states, always render on the server. Hey, I'm with you. Do that as much as possible. I treat this as an opt-in, where it's like, I know there's going to be layout shift. I know that this could be annoying and have things bounce around the page, but I've decided that's better for the user, so I'm going to do it smartly. Suspense is a good way to do it. Taint! It's time for Taint. I've heard of it. I'm interested, but I wish it didn't exist. It's a way to mark objects as something that should fail the build if they leak onto the client, which is something that happens in a lot of these frameworks that bridge server and client together in this weird bundled mess. You worry about certain parts of your app leaking to the client without you knowing about it. My last job, we were super worried about leaking new product information while we were still scaffolding out the landing pages for that new product. And something like this would be amazing to programmatically mark certain objects as like, hey, this is going to be for a new product we haven't launched yet. Taint that, break the build if it leaks. And this is more for server client, but I think for those use cases, it'd be really cool too. Unique value, I have no idea what that does. I know object reference though, and that makes sense. Use. I've used it and I have a negative experience. I've been stuck in infinite rendering loops using this all the time. It's really weird. It's a way to resolve a promise. And because React loves re-rendering when state changes, I keep triggering render loops, and I just can't use this properly. So use is cool, but it's, again, solving a problem that React created. I don't like it. Use form state. This one is a real banger of a hook. It's good. Lets you update state based on a form action. So you take a function, you have your form state, and it lets you update that state. It's kind of like an opinionated React use state. It takes a few related things, like I call this function and I want this state to re-resolve, and it just bundles it together in this really nice helper. To me, this is like the middle way between useReducer, which has a ton of action and it's really complicated, and useState, which isn't enough to manage all of your form inputs. It's this really nice setup. I honestly haven't used it yet, so I'm going to say that I'm interested, but I've watched the videos, I understand it, and I'm into it. Use form status. I like this a lot as well, but it has something that you probably won't expect. So you would think use form state would also have the pending. I would think that too. I would think that this tracks while something is pending. And I feel like it's kind of weird that it doesn't. Use form status is a way to get all of the information about the form that's resolving. But here's the issue. You can't call it from the parent component. You have to call it within a form. Let me show you what I mean. If I go into, well, I'm just going to make a new JSX file, right? Because we're not actually running this. We're not in Next.js right now. Let's say I have a form, right? This is my sign up form. You know, I'm using Lucia Auth, which should be everyone's favorite service for this. And I want to sign up a user, right? And I'm managing the form, perhaps. It's got a form, and it's probably got an input for, sure, yeah, email, password, confirm password. That feels right. And then we have our button to sign up. And we're using a server action because we're cool, we're cutting edge, we want to use the latest and greatest. So we've got our form action set up right in here. Action equals, and I'm going to do the full hog. Please don't do this at home. You should define use server in other parts of your application because you can leak things and it's very, very scary. But I'll just use this to stay nice and fancy. You know, and this has form data attached to it. We're just going to pass in the form data directly. And we have, okay, you can't destructure like that. But you can say email equals form data.get email, and you can grab all the things, etc., etc. And you can do server stuff and return the payload, which could be, you know, something like that. Sure. If you, well, you don't really want it to be RESTful, but you could do something like that, right? But I want to track while this thing is pending, and I want to show a little spinner on my button. You would think use form state would help you, but it doesn't. Instead, you have to track the form status. So my instinct doing that is to say const is it a, yeah, it's a destructured object. So I would think const pending equals use form status. And this is from a new version of React. I'd have to import it from React DOM. It's really cool that this comes straight from React DOM, though. But I would grab something like that, and I would grab the pending state and probably chuck it onto my custom component. You know, have a loading state like pending and loading. But it doesn't have context over to form. So when I wrap it with this and I say use form status, what form? What form are you talking about? I'm inside of a component. There's a form in here, but what form are you talking about? I don't know. So in order to actually track a pending state, I have to break out my button into a separate component like so. I have to put my use form status inside of the button. Oh God, why didn't that copy? 1 second. What did I do? You put your form state inside of the button, and then you can return this value. So this becomes a reference to button, uppercase button, and pending is tracked inside of that. It's a bit funny. It is a bit funny, but that's kind of the magic that they're allowing here. So if there's a form somewhere up the component tree, it'll grab that form and it'll give you all the information about that form. I could grab the action in order to know more about it. I can grab the method if you're doing a post request or a get request and you're not using form actions. And while a request is going through, I can track the pending state. So there you go. I would also think use transition might be able to replace this, but this feels like a more granular way to do it. So yeah, it's interesting. The fact that it's nested inside of whatever component needs the status is going to be annoying for refactoring, but At least it's there, so I'm a fan of it. And I like that it's built into React and not Next.js. Use transition. Okay, well, we explained it a ton up here. Didn't we just talk about use transition? Yeah, start transition. Interesting. So yeah, you can do them as standalone. And you can also do it with the use transition hook. I've never used it without the use transition hook, but... So actually, I should be more honest up here. I haven't used it inside. I haven't used it standalone, but I have used use transition. What pain points? Whew! Use transition is impossible to explain. So many use cases, so many caveats. Yep. Use form status is called from components within a form, which is less intuitive than top level. I wish it accepted a ref or came from use form state, because it really should. Because use form state has access to your action, so it also knows while an action is resolving. I just don't understand why it doesn't come from use form state. I don't understand it. There's probably technical reasons. I just don't know. Use has triggered infinite loops every time I use it. All right, so those are our hot takes right there. These are our hot takes. Continue to component libraries. Component libraries, the building blocks of your front end. Ant design. I've actually used it in the past. I had an okay experience, so I'm not going to say either or. It's been a long time, though. Chakra UI, heard of it. I'm not really interested, or... Yeah, I'm not interested, because I'm not interested in component libraries right now. Headless UI, I've heard of it. I am actually interested in that, because anything headless is a good sign. MUI, I'm not interested in like an opinionated component system that looks like a Google product. I'm just like, nah, your icons are good, but I don't like using you to build apps. I'm not a fan of it. I know it's not tied to the Google company. I'm just, not a fan. Radix, yes. Fantastic set of components. Great patterns. Ties into ShadCN, which is a lovely tool. Sold. React Bootstrap. Heard of it. I'm not interested anymore. I don't think I've ever used React. Actually, that's a lie. I have used React Bootstrap. I wouldn't say it was a negative experience. That's the problem, because it's like, I wouldn't use it again, but it wasn't negative. It's just old. You know, I had a good experience with it in 2018, building stuff in college. Now I'm done. That's where I'm at. So neither of those. So I'm just going to say, tell us more about your choice. Yeah. I liked it in 2018, but I've moved on to bigger and better things. There you go. All right, ShadCN, baby. Let's go. Love this library. Fantastic. Using it a lot. It lets me pull in Radix tools with just a CLI command. It's great. I've got a video about it. Go look at it. React Aria. I've heard this is the controversy. ShadCN is built on top of Radix. It lets you take Radix components and style them, because Radix gives you the accessibility. Tailwind and others give you the styling. It's the code of paint. And ShadCN is a way to combine the two and let you tweak it. But other people have said, hey, why did you use Radix UI? React Aria is more accessible. And that's a very blanket term. It probably comes down to specific examples of where Radix could use improvement. So I'm interested in React Aria, for sure. But I use Radix right now just because I know other people who are using it. What other component libraries have you used? I think they were all covered here. I haven't used that many component libraries. I used a bespoke one for my last company where we built our own design system. Fun times. I usually roll my own CSS when I'm building personal projects, so I never lean on component libraries. ShadCN is the first one. Oh, ReactUI. ReactUI. Yeah, I use this one for accessible components. It's from the folks that made React Router. And I'm just not a fan of it anymore because it's, you know, there aren't that many components. You can see right here, there's very few. And it seems to be abandoned. You know, these are the people pushing Remix and React Router and all those tools, and they haven't really come back to this one. So I'm like, I love this tool. it has some great components, and I love how you style them as well, but it feels like it's fallen by the wayside. React Aria is the true replacement. So Reach UI was good, but I'm like, nah, it's over. It's over. Animation libraries have you used? Framer Motion, negative experience. It's a super heavy JavaScript bundle, and I'm not a fan of it. Sorry, I'm just not. I would much rather use CSS. CSS variables are really, really capable these days. And if I had to do something insanely complicated, I would use GSAP or another full-on animation library. I would not use Framer Motion. It's too heavy. It's not easy to use either. So I'm just not a fan. React Spring. Josh Komu is a fan of React Spring. But these days, let me show you this. Open props, baby. Open props. Go to the bounce section. Ease bounce. Look at these. Look at these bouncy boys. This is pure CSS giving you a springy, bouncy animation. You can install these. It's a kilobyte of CSS. And you can use the CSS variables, wire them up in your tailwind, put them anywhere, and you get bounce. No libraries necessary. And you can put it as like a CSS transition, so it bounces between states. So there's just no reason to have Spring animations except for really, really, really niche use cases. So I'm like, also negative experience. Well, actually, not negative, but, you know, I just wouldn't use it anymore. And then these others I have not used. CSS variables have replaced my need for Spring JS Spring libraries. I would love to get a deep link to this. I don't think he does deep links on this website. But I'm just going to copy the open props link. See bounce variables on openprop/style. That's me. I love that stuff. All right, data visualization. Okay, I don't do a lot of data viz. I don't. I've used D3. It was honestly pretty fun. The rest of these I have not used. I know this requires some JavaScript to get right, so I respect people who use those kinds of libraries. Yeah. Okay, and also to chat people, React Aria is the Adobe one? No, React Spectrum, as far as I know, is the Adobe one. Maybe React Aria is also owned by them, but React Spectrum is their set of components. And I've been meaning to try it because they have a web components version as well, so it could work anywhere, including Astro. So I want to try Adobe Spectrum. This is React Spectrum, but I think they also have a web component version somewhere. React Aria, I believe, is just oh, I'm wrong. Whoa, I'm wrong. A library of React hooks. Okay, so it's probably split off from React Spectrum. Dang. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. Thanks for making me Google that. So it is definitely an Adobe product. Well, hey, Adobe builds a lot of UIs, so I trust them. I would try it. Oh boy. It's form time. It's forming time. Okay, so React Hook form is fine. I try to avoid controlled inputs as much as possible. I can usually get by throwing a use state on there for anything that needs to be controlled. React Hook form it's nice, but spreading a bunch of component props and using a bunch of hooks, it feels better than other things. It's better than Formix, certainly. Negative experience there. But I'm not going to say I want to use it again. I'm not going to say it. Formally, that's a new one. All right, other, baby. Tan stack form. Tan stack form. Let's go. So this is super early days. Application error. Oh my God, the search indexing. You can't make this up. This is how early it is. It's so early. Google indexed an application error. Oh man. So, okay, the folks that made React Query are working on one of these. They're working on Tan stack form. Shout out to Crunchcorn that maintains house form. I'm going real deep here. I'm sorry for all of these. But this is the form library that Crunchcorn, an amazing open source person, built. I have not tried it, but it is a cool looking tool. And now he's been swallowed up by the Tan stack form team. And he's working on taking that library and putting it into Tan stack. So this is very early days. Do not use it. Do not look at the docs. It is a mess. I tried looking at it and I couldn't even get it working. But keep your eye out. Keep your eye out for TanStack and form libraries because they want to fix forms. They don't think there's anything out there that works, and I kind of agree with them. So look out. It's coming. Which libraries do you use to style React? I'll use CSS modules again. It's a default. It should exist. Emotion, negative experience, too much JavaScript on the client. I love me some Sass. I will always love Sass. You can't replace their math functions. It's just fun. I like using it. Stitches, haven't used it. Style components, negative experience, too much JavaScript on the client. Style JSX, to be honest, I miss Style JSX. It was kind of cool. But again, too much JavaScript on the client. But I like it. Tailwind I'll use again. Uno, I don't know. Uno is weird. They let you do regexes for CSS patterns. It's wacky. I would just use Tailwind if you're trying to use utility classes. Vanilla Extract I have not used. I've used other things. Open props. Open props. Baby. I love open props. So let's shout them out. Pain points you've encountered related to working with components. That's like, what pain points have you encountered being a web developer? Well, the work hours are a bit tough. Sometimes I'm working over 40 hours a week. Man. Okay. So CSS and JS is dangerous if JS ships to the client. That's why I don't use style components or emotion anymore. Tailwind gets confusing to maintain over time. It's true, it does. That's why I like open props. Okay. Well, I guess that's not components, but it's related to components. Yeah. I already said my feedback here. I don't think there's much else. Forms in React are rough because there's no mechanism to bind inputs. It's very manual, and why there aren't form libraries I like. Facts. Svelte solves this better. Just saying. State management. All right, Hotite. That's one I heard about. It's similar to NanoSource that we discussed earlier. MobX, also interested in that one. I hear a ton about it. Maybe not as much these days as it did like a few years ago, but still a fan favorite. Recoil. Oh, okay, I mentioned Relay earlier. I meant Recoil. I used it. I don't think I want to use it again. It's very heavy because now I have better alternatives. I'm just going to say negative experience for Redux. I think we were all soured by it because we all used Redux too early. We all realized it was too heavy-handed, and we all looked for alternatives. These days, we don't use Redux for fetching. We don't use Redux for caching API results. Thank God we don't. Now we use React Query. Now hopefully we'll use the React cache primitive. We have learned, we have evolved. We've realized what is actually state and what is just a cache. So Redux is usually not what you need. Toolkit, I'm interested. It seems like a very well-intentioned tool, and it's got use cases for complex state. So good for them finding the niche. Use state, that's funny. Yeah, I'll use it again, of course. Xstate, I've used it, and I really want to find a use case. It's like useReducer, where I try it. It feels good to use. I have a state diagram, and then I'm like, nah. I'll actually tell you a story here. Xstate, I discovered back towards the start of my first corporate-y job out of college. And, I wanted to impress the bosses. I wanted to bring in hot new libraries. So I pitched, let's use Xstate, people. And I did a full lunch and learn. I showed them how we could refactor our forms to use Xstate instead. Everyone was like, that's so cool. Let's test it on this sign-up form for buying a Peloton bike. I worked at Peloton in the past. And it was a simple form that tracked whether or not you want to do their refurbished program, which is you have a bike, you want to send it back to Peloton to get a new bike. And that's an extra checkbox on the form. And I thought, okay, we could have an Xstate that tracks the form inputs and whether or not you're doing refurbished. That's complex enough. So I set up XState. We had a beautiful XState form. 2 years later, new product manager takes over that form and says, we were looking through this code and we found this form. Do you mind if we delete the code and redo it with useState? And I said, okay, sure. Yes, absolutely. Go right ahead. So just a reminder, XState has a big learning curve, and unless you have strong use cases and your team is onboarded and ready to use XState, it's going to be tech debt. It's going to be something you have to explain years later, and it's probably too heavy-handed for what you're doing. Just a word of caution. I want to use it again. I don't have any use for it right now. I've been burned by the tech debt of choosing a tool like this. So know that. I know it's easy to get excited. As an engineer, we love getting excited about complexity, right? We see something that's a little bit complex, so we think, let's pour some sauce on it to come up with this generic solution. Catch yourself. Catch yourself when you're doing that, because you're adding some learning curve to it. So you got to think about it. Is it actually reducing complexity, or are you just moving complexity around? You got to think about it. Okay, Zustand. I have no idea what that is. Moving on. Other libraries to manage state in your apps. Nanostores. Nanostores, baby. Nanostores. Okay, with a space. Yeah, I love nanostores, so let's put that in. What pain points have you encountered? Redux was the wrong choice for caching API results. React query /grpc/Apollo have all replaced my Redux use cases. XState has a steep learning curve. Introduced at my last company, had to refactor years later when new management came in. There you go. Okay, so those are my takes about state management. We've already talked about context and other things, so we won't get into that here. Okay, data loading. Apollo client. I've used it. It's fine. It's very heavy-handed. I'm not a huge GraphQL person for smaller projects, but at larger scale, especially at backends that are written in different languages, having that typed contract of all of your API types is nice. So I'm not going to bash on Apollo too much. And I met the team at React Rally, or at least members of the team, and they're great people. They got their head in the right place of problems to solve. Relay, heard of it. I'm honestly not interested. RTK Core, I've heard of it. I don't think I'm interested in that either. Yeah, SWR, so that's like the React Query alternative from Vercel. Honestly, I'm not interested. I feel like React Query solves everything I need. Love React Query. We're going to do that. Also TRPC. We love TRPC. Fetch? Do you mean just browser fetch? Or do you mean a library? Are we in the library section? I mean, I love unclear if this means the fetch browser API or some library I don't know about. You seriously got it. It's a shame that I have to ask that, but they should have said fetch native API or fetch browser API, even link to MDN. Maybe fetch browser API would be more clear with link to MDN. What other libraries? Actually, no question mark. What other libraries have you used for data loading? I don't think I've used any others. I've just used React Query and fetch calls, and that's it. I've used Redux, obviously, but I don't know if that counts. Yeah, what pain points have you kind of related to data loading? Rolling my own fetch has always been dangerous. Glad React Query exists. There you go. I don't think I have any other thoughts. GraphQL, maybe, but I don't really have thoughts there. Backend infra. All right, Astro! Hey, we're number one! We're number one on the survey. Yeah! Represent. Everyone better hit used it or heard of it and highly interested, all right? Hit that button. We're number 1. Let's go. Used it, negative experience, create React app, get out of here. Negative experience with Gatsby, because you don't need either of these tools anymore. Use Astro for your spas, move your create React app to Astro, and move your Gatsby site to Astro. There you go. Astro replaces both of these two. Enough said. Next.js. It's an option. Both of these are true. Both of these are true. I've had negative experiences. I know I'll be crawling back. I have Stockholm syndrome with Next. I've had negative experiences and want to use it again. Let's say I want to use it again, all right? Because the team is great, okay? Lee Rob, you're a G. I love the direction you're going with form state, form status, server components. I think it is all there. All the right intentions are there. So I'm going to say I want to use it again, but boy, I've had negative experiences. So there you go. Why I sometimes use Next.js. Okay, so that is... You read my mind, okay? This is a chat message. I have wanted to... Because we have... Kent C. Dodds. Why I won't use Next.js, right? Why I won't use Next.js. A hot take about all of the reasons he will not use Next.js and prefers Remix instead. Lee Rob, he talked about why I am using Next.js. I'm in the boat of why I sometimes use Next.js. I feel like it would be funny. Anyone who's in the know about these articles would be like, nice. Nice. I feel like I don't have the time to write a blog post on the level of those other blog posts, so I haven't done it. But I love to write why I sometimes use Next.js, because that's me. Okay. Oh, and they put the taglines for all of these. What was Astro's tagline? Oh, they didn't put a tagline for us. Why did they put a tagline for some of these? I wish they'd asked us. Are there taglines on some frameworks, but not others? Wish the Astro team had heard, and we would happily share one. Is it sponsored by Remix? Would also... Well, actually, I'm leaving survey feedback at this point, so I'm going to table that as generic survey feedback. Okay, I've used it. I don't think I'm going to be using it again anytime soon, but I am interested in what they do with server components, so I am going to be watching them, for sure. I'm watching you, Wazowski. All right, now I can say I've used Redwood, kind of. We use React server components in Redwood on stream. They're prototyping some wacky ideas. So I'm going to say I want to use it again because I'm curious what they end up doing. Other meta frameworks? 11D? That counts for me. Do they have 11D? Okay, their search box is not loading up 11D, sadly. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I'd put 11D on here for sure. Vite, I guess, doesn't count, so I'm not going to put that. I don't think there's anything else that I've used. Is there anything else that I've used? I can't think of anything else that I've used. Yeah, other than create React app and stuff, and things that aren't React related. I've used React in 11D. You're not supposed to do that, but I've used it. Don't ask me how. It's a dead library that I built using React in 11D. Other backend tools and services. Absolutely. Absolutely not. I don't know what that is. Yes, we love that. Yes, I hope it turns into Rust. It's both. Both. I guess I'll say use it again. Parcel, I've used. I just don't have opinions on it. TurboPack, I want it to work, but it doesn't. So let's just say that. Okay, which services have you used in your React apps? I've used AWS with SST, and it was really nice. Cloudflare, I love that. DigitalOcean, haven't used. Flyo, I want to use it, but I haven't used it yet. GitHub Pages, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it anymore. It isn't really maintained, and it's a bit old hat. Heroku, I miss you. I miss you. Negative experience with pricing and just negligence. I don't know. I don't use it anymore. I want to use Netlify again. I want to use Vercel again. Anything else? Railway, I had a good time, so I'll just put Railway on here. And I think that's it. I think that's you listed every deployment service. Okay, other services. Firebase, I don't like their live databases, and I don't like their loosey-goosey schemas anymore. PlanScale, love them. Prisma, I've had negative experiences, but I want to use it again. I don't like how heavy-handed it is. I don't like some of the missing features, like views. You can't even have a SQL table view. And view tables are a very common concept. So the fact that they're still like experimental with that, it's a bit weird. I don't know why they don't have that. Redis, I definitely want to use. Just haven't used it yet. Sentry, yeah, I'll use it again. Supabase, I've used it. I don't know. Between the other tools like PlanScale, I don't use it because I don't have live databases. Upstash, I really want to use, but I haven't used it yet. Other, absolutely, MongoDB. I can't believe MongoDB ain't here. That's the OG. Mern stack. Bring back the Mern stack. OGs understand. Or people who are building it today. If you're using Mern stack and you're happy, good for you. If you don't know, that's React, Express, Mongo, and Node. What languages are you backend test written in? I want to use Elixir, okay? I used it once to build one thing, which means I'm an expert, so I'm going to use it again. Go, I haven't really used it. I want to use it. Well, okay, I used it for one thing again. So if I put this, I'm putting this. .NET I have used at an old job. I don't have strong opinions about it. Haskell, oh, dang. No thoughts, but oh, that's cool. PHP had a real bad negative experience, but I'm hoping Laravel will help me like it again. Python, I've used it. I don't want to use it again, but I wouldn't say it was negative. Ruby, I haven't used it yet. Rust, negative experience. It was really hard to make a serverless function on Rust. TypeScript, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I don't think I've used any other languages. Oh, yes, I have. Kotlin, fantastic language. Everyone should try it if they haven't. What pinpoints have you countered related to backend infrastructure? GraphQL resolvers are tough if you don't use TypeScript or C# on the backend. That's a fresh scar, so I got to put that one down. Firebase schemas are weird to work with, and the SDK is very heavy. That's my feeling about that. Negative experiences. Webpack. Enough said. I remember working with someone at my last job that used Webpack, and they were a bit of an expert in writing Webpack configs. So they really leaned into, oh, we're going to build these tiny apps. Let's just create React app because I have the Webpack experience. And it's just, first off, that's a dying skill a bit. And second off, that's a bust factor. I wish we had used Vite and simpler bundlers to build those tiny plaything apps. I was really upset with, they literally didn't even use create React app. They spun a custom React config that they had just said is try and true. And I was like, why? Why are you forcing me into this? It sucks to use Webpack. I don't understand the config. And if you leave the company, we're screwed. So I'm just like, it's such a trade skill to understand a Webpack config. And it is replaced by Vite hard. Unless you use Next.js, I'm sorry. Which libraries you use to test? Okay. So I've used Cypress. I want to use it again. Jest, I'm going to end up using it some point in my life, I guarantee. I wouldn't say it was negative. It's just, it's on that edge. Playwright's also nice. Storybook, negative experience. It's a really heavy app. It's annoying to spin it up. I don't like it. We need a replacement. Testing library is good. VTest is good. And I don't really test with anything else. Which libraries do you use to render React on different platforms and environments? Obviously that. Email is cool. I want to use it for that. Ink, negative experience. It's way too heavy for a CLI tool. I would stick with just plain prompts and stuff like Clack. Shout out to Clack, which is a library from Nate Moore that gives you a set of command line utilities that look really nice. They look really, really nice. Look at this. Look at that little iconography there. He was the creator of our new Astro CLI experience, and he spun it off into a generic library. So shout out to Clack. Absolutely fantastic. It's not React-based. It's just JavaScript. So try it out. Really, really good. I wouldn't use Ink. Okay, I've used it for native in iOS. I would use it again. It's true. React Native on macOS. I haven't used it there. React Native for web. Oh, come on. Why? React Native Windows seems nice. React PDF, I'm sure that's great because it's so annoying to work with that. Remotion, no. React 3 Fiber, no. I mostly just use it for the web, man. What libraries have you used for validating? Shout out to Zod. Let's go. And yup, I've heard about it. I haven't really used it. Okay. Handle off. I'll use it again, but Clerk, we need an Astro integration. It's annoying that you don't have one. Auth.js negative experience is really hard to use. Lucia! Woo! You're on the survey, man. Welcome in. Want to use it again. Passport negative experience, there's way too much to set up, but it is the OG. It is the OG. Credit where it's due. If you were around 2018, you're building Express apps, you know about Passport. You know. That was the OG. Still around. Big respect. But I had a negative experience. It's why I never rolled my own auth until just recently. It really left a sour taste. And try to use OAuth services, please. Okay, which libraries use for mobile? Let me think. Capacitor is cool. I want to try it. I've used Ionic. I had a good experience with Ionic. This was back in the Angular days, and I still had a good experience. So, I miss it. Expo, I also had a good experience. Now they have a lot of libraries covered. Way more than Flutter, at least. So yeah, I would use all of these again. Honestly, React on mobile is a pretty good choice. I don't have a problem with that. Because my problem with React on the web is React is just a big bundle, and you have a lot of upfront cost to just ship a website. But on mobile, it's a one-time download. So if React is a big bundle, okay, you downloaded 100 megabytes instead of 50 for a native app. Who cares? As long as it feels good to use, who cares? What other front-end frameworks have you used? Alpine, I like it. I'm a fan of it. Angular, I want to try it again, just because of their new things. Ember, I haven't really used. Lit, I kind of had a negative experience, I'm going to be honest. Their original docs were hard to parse, and their new docs, it just doesn't make me excited about it. Okay, Preact. I want to use it again. Quick, I had a negative experience because I tried it way too early. Now I want to try it. Now that they're 1.0, they got solid docs. Feels like it's time for me to revisit Quick, maybe. And they're looking at Astro support. Apparently. So I'm curious what that looks like. Solid, yeah. Svelte, oh. Vue, I don't care that much about Vue. I feel like if I'm on a project in Vue, I know what I'm doing. It's pretty nice to use, but nah. I feel like Svelte is a simplified version of what Vue does for templating and state. So I think Svelte is my preferred option. But you can see here, I've got my stripes. I've used all of these. Jesus. Okay, usage. Design systems, mobile apps, static sites, web apps. I've used it for all of those. Daily basis, I'm on 18, and I am using Canary a little bit. Next.js people, hit this bubble. Hit this bubble. You are not on 18. You are on the Canary. If you don't know that, now you know. If you're on the latest Next.js, you are on Canary. I'm on 18 because I don't use Next.js that often. In what context do you use React? Professionally? Which industry sector do you work in? Agriculture. E-commerce to an extent. Education. We're educating right now. Entertainment. We're an entertaining person. Finance, hospitality. Where is programming for technical? Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Social media, technically. There we go. We're just applying architecture and rendering patterns I've used in the past year. Edge rendering, yes. ISR or ISG or whatever. There's a million acronyms. Gatsby, DSG. Yeah, there's so many. Netlify calls it DPR. I've used it. It's quite nice. And Astro is working towards incremental builds so that we can support something like this. So get ready. Astro is going to be incremental for static generation. Islands architecture. It's my brand. Multi-page apps. Also my brand. Partial hydration. Yeah, also my brand. Progressive enhancement. Always. Always. Progressive hydration. I don't really know what that means here. Resumability, I don't use that either. Because I'm just going to say no to those. Server-side rendering, obviously. Single-page apps, yeah. Yeah. Streaming SSR, yup. How happy are you with the state of React? Neutral. Bordering on unhappy with all the Thrasher server components. There's a reason I like Svelte, and I use it for a lot of personal projects. It has a very unified vision. It is a benevolent dictatorship with Rich Harris, so good and bad there. But it doesn't feel tied up in any, monetary reasons. There's no deployment service that, SvelteKit is on Vercel, but it really doesn't feel like Svelte has any leaning towards Vercel. They really don't care where you deploy it. So the fact that React is tougher and tougher to deploy with server components, server actions allowing you to do weird things, the taint API, which is just wild, it forces my opinion from happy down to neutral. I would have said happy last year, but I'm down to neutral. Which of these recent and upcoming features are you excited about? Asset loading. I would love that. I didn't know about that. I'm excited about cache. I'm excited about forget. Don't forget. New documentation. Yes, react.dev. Lovely documentation site. If only Next.js. Oh, you can pick 3 items. Okay. So asset loading isn't on there then. Off-screen rendering, no. Server components, server actions, suspense. How do I pick just 3? Can I have a negative vote so I can get 4? Because I have a negative vote for use and a positive vote for server components. So I am excited for them. I'm just like, yeah, it's weird. So between these, I would probably say React Forget, React Server Components, and the new docs, which I think can get better and better. Cache, React Query already has a cache, so I'm excited that React has it built in, but it doesn't need it necessarily. Any other React pain points you'd like to mention? I've mentioned all of them. I actually have. Resources. What type of resources do you use? Okay, here we go, education. So definitely documentation. Higher education, if only. So I led a boot camp at my college for a college organization, so I'm going to count it. But college courses do not teach you. Podcasting, that's how I learned about it in college. I started listening to Syntax FM, slowly branched out to like Shop Talk and JS Party, and it just got me really excited. It made me realize, there's a community of nerds that also love web development for the tech. And that's how I ended up pretty much here, Twitch streaming and open source at Astro, all that. So I love podcasting. Self-directed, yeah, of course. I have bought paid courses, but I didn't finish them. I never even got 10% of the way through. So I'm not even going to click it. Coding bootcamp, I led a bootcamp. So I'm not going to say I learned from one, but I did lead one. Videos and screencast, obviously. Books, no books. I have not bought a React book. On-the-job training, everyone should check that box. Everyone should. Online courses, I count Free Coding Camp, and I count Egghead. So blogs, magazines, okay. LogRocket, I listen to it. Bytes, I follow it. React to Flux, I'm in the Discord, but I don't really look at it. React Digest, no. Smashing Mag, I do read it, not super regularly. Node and Next.js Weekly, no. Dev2, not as much anymore, but I end up there from Google search results, so there you go. Best of JS, sure. This Week in React, I've heard about them. I don't follow the newsletter. CSS Tricks, of course. The Reddit, no. I'm going to say Free Code Camp here. What else? What sites of course have you used to learn React? Okay, well, maybe Free Code Camp is on here. It is. Okay. So just uncheck that. Well, should I say anything specific here? So these are blogs and newsletters. All right. So I'm going to say Ron... Whoops. Well, that's interesting the input was there. Is that how you spell... How do you spell rendezvous? I don't know. Rendezvous with Casado. We know the one. And is there anything else that I follow? Lead Rob's, Substack, True Facts. And I think that's it for React stuff. Found it. Oh, over here. Hello, can I have the link to the survey? Oh, okay, cool. And Rendezvous, I think I spelled it right. That's how you sound it out. Rendezvous. Dev2 annoys me nowadays. It really does. It feels like there's a lot of low effort posts on Dev2. A lot more so than it used to be. Dev2 is where I got my start in blogging, and they retweeted all my posts and got me a lot of viewers. So Thank you, Dev2. You made me like get excited to write more because I had an audience. So Dev2 is awesome for promoting new creators, but there is a lot of low effort stuff on there, I hate to say. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, which sites of courses do you use? Me do. You're amazing. You're in Spanish. So I don't watch his streams, but Midu Conf is an amazing conference that he holds every year. It's fully virtual. Everyone's crazy, super excited. It's the most excited I've ever seen a chat for a virtual conference. Like, huge shout out to Midu. Like, he is just a force. He's a force. And he also invited me to make a funny React or a funny Astro video for the conference. So, you know what? I'll just click it because Midu's awesome and deserves any promo you can get. Code Academy, long time ago. I don't even think I used it for React. I used it for Angular 1. That's the last time I used Code Academy, was when Angular 1 was a thing. Scrimba, it's a cool platform. I just don't use it. I don't really use education platforms. I use FreeCodeCamp. I use WestBoss. Egghead, Stack Overflow, everyone's going to click that. O'Reilly, no, I'm not that crazy. Front-end Masters, I want to, but again, I don't do courses. Epic React, I don't pay for courses. So there you go. React Web Development Podcast, here we go. Okay. React Native Radio, Full Stack. Okay, why is this on the survey still? I think it's just grandfathered in, but Full Stack Radio talks about Vue, mostly, and has been off the air for years. So just take this off the survey. Take that off the survey, man. Shop Talk Show, yeah. Changelog, it's been a while. Ladybug, also off the air. So I'm just going to say I'm still subscribed to Ladybug. I don't listen to Changelog anymore. It's just too generic. Jamstack Radio, also too generic. I don't listen to it. JavaScript Jam, no. Syntax, they're awesome. PodRocket, yes. JS Party, too generic. I just don't like the guest. Front-end Happy Hour, no. Rap Podcast, yes. So I'm going to shout out DevTools FM. That's my favorite just like developer podcast in front-end and full stack. They have the best guest. Every time I see a guest on their podcast, I'm like, you read my mind. I wanted to learn about that. So DevTools FM, probably my favorite techie podcast. But other than that, I don't listen to a lot of tech podcasts anymore. Yeah. HTTP 2, yeah, I miss them too. I look at their YouTube stuff. I need to go back through their old... Yeah, and also React Podcast. Love that podcast. Grandfathered in, been off the air for years. So shout out to them. But DevTools FM, cool podcast. I would recommend you follow that one. React Web Development video creator, so you watch it on YouTube. The Primogen. I love how he's the first one I think of, even though he doesn't do it. All right, Theo. T3.gg. Let's just write the full thing out. Trash Dev. Let's shout out all of our buds here. Trash Dev, crushing. Who else? People in the chat, throw me some video creators. Who should I throw up here? Because I do watch a lot of them. I want to make sure I hit all of the big ones and I don't miss anyone. Anyone got thoughts? I don't know. These are the main ones. I'm just going to put myself. Everyone on the survey, put it down. Jay Langsdorff. Exactly. Jay Langsdorff. I'm putting myself on here. I don't care. Selfless. But hey, if you're a viewer of B Holmes Dev, put it on the survey. We're trying to get represented on this thing. Let's go. Yep. Let me actually screenshot this. Right? Yeah, I'll screen grab this. There we go. That'll be my screenshot. Cassidoo? She doesn't really... Oh, yeah, Twitch. Yeah. Let's run on Cassidoo. Totally. Have a YouTube channel with a single tech-related video. Yeah, I mean, yay, subscribe to Pilcrow. Are you trying to grow an audience, or should I put you here? Because I'm totally willing to. Who else? There's got to be more. We need small creators. Josh, I think I know who you were talking about. One second. Josh Komu? Who are you thinking of? Oh, WebDev Cody. I do watch WebDev Cody, so let's throw him on there. I was trying to remember what his name was. I just know it's like WebDev guy. WebDev person. Okay, who else is there on here? You can see some some old searches. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone else. There's gotta be, though. There's gotta be. Other than the core people. The core people. I know I subscribe to some other people. So let's look through my subscription. Oh my god, I have so many subscriptions. I need to go through this and actually delete some subscriptions. Yeesh. Crutchcorn? Does he YouTube? Or I know he streams. So let's shout out Crutchcorn. Absolutely, thank you. I know that Dave Rupert also has a stream, which is such a vibe. I need to go watch his stream. Anyone else? Anyone else? We already have Midu because he was on the original thing. Who's the Golang guy? I wouldn't know, probably. So Dax, shout out to Dax. Whoa, what happened? Oh no, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Oh my god! Oh no! We found a bug. We found a bug on the survey. I think I added too many. Uh-oh. So let's lock these in. Let's lock in these votes. Okay, your data has been saved. There we go. I wanted to lock that in so that way I don't break this. Did we break it completely? Oh no, it reset the form. Okay, let's start over. Yeah, it's like naming all the US states. Can we name them all? All right, so we have Cassidoo, t3.gg, we have trash, dev, we have Tej, obviously. We have the Primeagen, we have web dev Cody, we have Dave, we have Dax, THDXR. I'm actually gonna also just do this. Who else we got? Yeah, I'm gonna remove. No, I don't think it's because I added myself. That would be really funny though. It didn't. Yeah, I don't think I added that many. I was up to 10. Not that bad. I'm not gonna add myself, but I'm gonna promo that you should add my stuff. Okay, so who else? I know that there's smaller creators that I should shout out. Yeah. Yeah, Usman, Dev. Is this him? No, that's not him. What's his channel? Coding in Public. Ooh. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Coding in Public. Easy. I'm trying to remember his YouTube channel. Usman, member of our community. What is it? What is your YouTube? I can't remember it. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. I want to find you, though. I'm subscribed to you, but I have 200 subscriptions. We're going to find it. Can I search subscriptions? Okay, they're all on the page. No, it's not on the page. Urgh. I'm upset. Dev Agrawal? Yeah, totally. No. I'm actually thinking of someone else, but Dev Agrawal, totally. Let me just make sure I follow right. Yeah. It's Agrawal, not Agarwal. Yes. Dev, you're a G. Thank you for all the get-togethers between Clerk and the New Yorkers. He's freaking awesome. Everyone should subscribe to Dev Agrawal, and I like that he's unapologetic with his takes. He has an unapologetic take. MongoDB is what you should use for everything. SQL is annoying. Love that take. Love it. Also takes about serverless versus servers. He's got good takes. Big respect to Dev Agrawal. Big respect. Okay, this is a good list. I think. Is there anyone else that we should add? TypeScript Dev, I don't follow him, so I'm not going to put that. Computer File, I will absolutely put. Dang it! No! We broke the... Why? It's when we start inputting. It's almost like there's a timer. Oh, that sucks. Is it just over a certain amount? I really do think it's over a certain amount. This sucks. I don't want to type this a second time. I'm not going to put Tej. All right. Boom. Got him. You're out. Yep. And we're also going to add coding. And we also forgot Jay Langsdorff this time. Now I can't remember who we're forgetting. Is this an okay list? Is there someone else? CM Griffin. Oh, absolutely. We rate him all the time. Thank you. You see, my brain is in YouTube mode. I'm not thinking about the good Twitch streamers either. But yeah, CM Griffin. Easy. Okay, this is going to be our list. I'm going to screenshot it before we mess up again. Because, oh my god, this is a mess. This is an absolute mess. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to inspect the page. Watch this. Because I want a good screenshot where the names are kind of like smaller. So we have section contents here. Yeah, section questions. Margin. Well, I'm going to also add padding in line of like 6 rem. Boom. We're web developers. There we go. See, now the text aligns better. Yep. There we go. That's a picture. And yep, we're going to add him now. Yep, it's over 10. 10 is where it breaks. We have now decided. Oh, and we forgot Dax. Oh man, can I remove Cassett? I feel bad now. Now I want a good list. Now I want a good list. Adam.dev is also great. Okay, I think we're done with all of that. It's a shame that we break this. Yep. Is this a better list or a worse list? Is this better or worse than what we had before? And I'll probably shout out more in a thread. All right, this is what we're going to submit. Good enough. About you. Okay, so this is where we get to the personal information. So I'm going to, privatize from here. But hey, good stream. Good stream. All right, we went through all of our takes. We talked about React. That took a lot longer than I expected. But there will be a VOD for sure. I'll see if I can edit this down to a video as well. But yeah, that was good. That was good. Okay. So if anyone wants to go take the survey, by the way, you can go here. Yep. All right. So from here, if anyone wants to take the survey with me, State of React 2023, what takes resonated with you? What things do you completely disagree with me on? And are you excited about server components and what they're doing to React for better or worse? Let me know in the comments. Very curious about it. Otherwise, see you in the next video. That's if I use this as a video. Just wanted to have something there. Okay. All right. So I'm still streaming for a second. But yeah, I'm going to hop off and get some breakfast. Stick around. I'm going to try to raid someone. Also, company size. If you don't know, Astro is below 20 people in headcount. Actually, we are. We're still very, very small. Clerk has passed us in employees very quickly. They're grabbing up talent real fast. Yeah. And what country do I reside in? United States. I just want to finish this survey completely before I get off. Because imagine I did this whole survey and didn't submit it. Or it timed out. Like, that would be so annoying. Okay. I have to say that I'm male and white, sadly. I know. Go follow those other creators that I mentioned. I don't think it's a very diverse group that we plugged, though. Yeah. I need to do some soul searching on that. I really do. Yeah. If you ever listen to Hanselman, Scott Hanselman, he has a Hansel Minutes podcast, and he makes a really concerted effort to have a diverse group of guests. And he's been doing it for years running. And there's a lot of creators I've listened to on there that I need to follow up and see what they're working on. So listen to Hansel Minutes. I should have put that on the podcast, actually. I forgot about it, but listen to Hansel Minutes. There's a lot of good nuggets on there. Okay, hearing impairments. No, I don't have any impairments, luckily. How'd you hear about the survey? Twitter. How can we improve the survey? Odd seeing taglines for some JS frameworks and not others could have used links to the framework website at the least. Also, there were several, I'm looking at how to improve it. There were several prompts where I had negative experience and would use again. Describes my feelings on React in general. Maybe these two options don't feel like opposites. Could be improved. Okay, yeah, that's my feedback on it. Email me when the survey is published. Yeah, send me an email. Let me know. Thanks for filling out the survey. Okay, my feature score is 275. I don't know what that means. It's just a score. Top 25% respondents. That's it? Dang. I feel like I'm dialed into the community, but there's still 25% of people who are even higher. I saw by side your stream was over. Yeah, that's the trouble with streaming and reusing as a YouTube video. Because you want to like record everything so that you can chop up the YouTube video, but you're saying goodbye to the YouTube audience that you'll eventually have, not the stream. It's like, how do you do this? How do you do this? There's no way to do it right. B. Holmesius is the best. Well, thank you, Elzeus. I appreciate it. You made me sound like a Greek gladiator. B. Holmesius. I love it. Okay, but I am actually going to say goodbye now. So we submitted the survey. We're good. We're done. Who am I going to raid? Whoopsies. Sorry for the echo. I'm pulling up Twitch in order to see who we can raid. So let's go ahead and raid the Primogen, a very typical and normal choice. I was seeing if CM Griffin was streaming. Prime, yeah, go ahead. I hope he's talking about React, because I know he was talking about server components and actions. Oh, he's doing the charity stream. Oh my god, yeah. I saw his YouTube video recently where he talked about how his last charity stream, he donated enough money to a cancer research institute that he was a majority of their funding for new machines. Like, just from that one stream, he was able to raise more money than all of the donations that they were pulling in. And he's partnering with the same group for the new charity stream. So I love that. I love how effective it can be. Just saying, give, and we will put it on there if you have a large audience. So yeah. I can't wait for the tire to gen. It'll be nuts. So his last charity stream was doing a course on building your own compiler with Rust. Am I getting that right? I don't know what he's doing this time. But it might devolve into Fortnite and drunk takes, so I'm hoping that's what happens. So yeah, go join the Streamagen. Go check him out, 24 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna pop in there too. So, see y'all later. Hope you had a good time. Biomes ES to whiteboard. One time we figured out ESLint, VS Code, Airbnb mess. Oh my god, that was my first video in that format. I'm glad it stuck with you. Yes, I should talk about that one. He's rewriting Harpoon. Love that. All right, well, I'll see you around. See you on the stream. And I'm glad I helped you, Eels. Drop a follow. See you next Monday. 9 a.m.